Fourth graders, can you believe that you're almost fifth graders? I cannot believe it myself. Today, since it's just general review, I am not going to do anything with you on your pages. The reason being is last week, I think the video was really long. So I think you guys will be able to handle these 2 pages, and I'm going to jump right into reviewing for the quiz. Test. Sorry about that. What will be on test 15? This is scheduled to be your final test of the 4th grade. Okay, this week I had a conversation with several of you, and I said, when I say know the following, know, that means have these memorized. If you have these memorized, you automatically will get 100 in that section. Does that make sense? Like some of these, you're having to work equations, okay? But some of them, you just have to memorize. So this memorization, you guys had amazing grades in history. I know you can memorize. A decaliter equals how many liters? Okay, deca, 10. It doesn't matter what this says right here, whether it says meters or liters or grams or whatever. The answer is still 10. Deca means 10. Centi is 1 over 100. Now this week I called one of you and I said, if it ends in an I, centi, deci, milli, guess what? It is a fraction. See that? And then the others are your whole numbers. I can see how they would get confusing because you've got 1 over 100, you've got 100. 1 over 10 and 10. 1 over 1,000 and 1,000. Just remember, the ones that end in I, like centi, those are the ones that are fractions. Okay? So let's keep going. A kilogram equals 1,000 grams. A decimeter equals 1/10 of a meter. A hectoliter equals 100 liters. And a milligram equals 1/1000th of a gram. Excuse me just a minute. Bennett, Anderson, will y'all turn that down, please? Okay. So let's do it one more time. Don't even look. Let me call it out to you, okay? If you have it in front of you, I want you to move it. I'm going to go in order. A decaliter equals how many liters? 10. Deca means 10. A centimeter equals how much of a meter? 1/100. A kilogram equals how many grams? 1,000. A decimeter equals how much of a meter? 1/10. A hectoliter equals how many liters? 100. A milligram equals how much of a gram? 1/1000th. Okay? Now, let's go on down to, and guys, this is attached to today's lesson plan. You have 2 pages, okay? Okay. Be able to solve and check these equations, okay? Do you remember x plus 9 equals 5 plus 5? Solve the side without the unknown, this one. 5 plus 5 is 10, this stays the same. And then you have to get rid of this number. If it's a plus, you put a minus. If it's a minus, you put a plus. So here it's a plus, you put a minus. Then on the other side of the equals mark, you have to do exactly what you did over here. So if you do a minus 9 over here, you have to do a minus 9 over here. So then that equals x equals 1. Okay? The following is considered the checking of these equations. That's when you take the number 1, you go back up at the top and plug it in. 1 plus 9 equals 5 plus 5. 1 plus 9 equals 5 plus 5. 10 equals 10. Okay? I hope everybody understands that. Excuse me just a second. I've got some candle holders that are casting a shadow. Okay. Now, let's go down to divide and check. Okay. Be careful and remember that this requires trial and error, and therefore it requires patience. Keep working. Use scratch paper if needed and attach that with your test when submitting to LMS. Do not forget to check. Remember, you get 2 points deducted if your problem is inaccurate and 2 points deducted if you do not check. So please make sure to check. These will be 2-digit divisors. Okay? We've worked so many of these that I'm not going to work anymore with you. But I have found that my best math students, the ones that make 100 on everything, almost, and my students that struggle, when I work with you personally, you can get these 2-digit divisors. If you'll just keep working, keep working, keep working. Don't turn it into me if your checking does not match your problem. Keep working it. Even if you need to put it aside, go outside and play a little bit, come back and do it, okay? Don't rush through. Be very familiar with meter, liter, gram, and Celsius. You will be asked to fill in the blanks with these answers, and some will be used twice, which makes it tricky, okay? I want you to go to page 87 and 348 to study meter. Okay, I was wondering, actually, I noticed one little girl told me her page 348 was missing, but I sent it to her, so I'm not going to go and show that to everybody. Liter, see page 251 and page 348. Gram, see page 127 and page 348. Celsius, see page 253 and page 350. Please note, Celsius measures temperature in metric units. Parents, help your child with when they would use the above. Example, a meter is slightly longer than 1 yard, is a measure of length. So they may measure the length of their bed. Okay? Listen up, children. You may use a meter to measure the length of your bed because a meter is slightly longer than 1 yard and it is a measure of length. Okay? You could go up over on the wall right there and you could measure yourself and you could mark it, and then you could measure from the floor to where you marked it, because it's a measure of length, okay? Now I'm going to walk through each one of these with you. Liter is slightly larger than 1 quart. It is a measure of capacity, and they may measure the amount of Kool-Aid in a pitcher. I don't know if you can see up there in my china cabinet, but there's a pitcher up there at the very top. P-I-T-C-H-E-R. Not a picture, but a pitcher. Okay? Then a liter would be used to measure something like that. Milk in a gallon, Kool-Aid in a pitcher. Gram is a very small unit of measure. It is used to measure mass, and they may weigh a tablespoon of peanut butter, which would be 16 grams. Okay? Would you, if you were going to weigh yourself, would you weigh yourself in grams or pounds? Pounds. But something as small as a tablespoon of peanut butter should be measured in grams. Okay? It is a very small unit of measure. Celsius. 2 scales are used to measure temperature, and they are Fahrenheit and Celsius. Okay? All right? Celsius is used to measure temperature in metric units. Okay, I said that on the other page. Do you remember? Celsius measures temperature in metric units. So remember these things I'm telling you. Go back over these sheets and back over these sheets and back over these sheets until you are familiar with what I'm talking about. Follow the signs. Addition and subtraction. Please, please, please concentrate on borrowing and carrying numbers. I had lots of mistakes on the simple problems on the last quiz especially. If the number has 1 decimal, remember to bring it straight down. Okay, if a number has a decimal, remember to bring it what? Straight down. Okay? Multiplication, 3-digit multiplication. Concentrate and be careful. Remember to mark the numbers off and place your zeros to hold the spot. Adding and subtracting fractions. Adding, remember to find your common denominator by first asking yourself if the smallest denominator can be divided into the larger. Then, if not, find the smallest one that both denominators will divide into. Remember, if you end up with an improper fraction that you must divide the denominator into the numerator, then add the whole number to your whole number side and leave the fraction. Do you remember that? Subtracting. Find the common denominator, and you may need to borrow from the whole number, an entire pie, so to speak. Remember to reduce. Okay, do you remember all that? Okay, so with subtracting, you know how you, like if you have, let me see, if you have like 17 over here, let me see if I got my pencil to write here. Okay, so if I've got like 17 minus 16, and then here, I'm just going to make it simple right quick, like I've already got my fraction. And say I've got 3, 6, and say here I've got 6, 6. Okay? Some of you go ahead and say 6 minus 3 is 3. But this number's boss, and this number is subtracted from this number, and you cannot give me $6 if you only have 3. So you borrow what we call an entire pie. How do you know how much to add? Like what, how do I even know what that one pie would be equal to? You take your common denominator, and that number over itself is what you add. So this equals to 9, 6. 9 minus 6 is 3, 6. Okay? This is 0. Don't forget to go over there. If you subtract on this side, subtract on this side. I've had some of you subtract over here and add over here. Okay? Now we're not finished right here because guess what? It can be reduced. 3 divides into 3 one time. 3 divides into 6 2 times. That answer is equal to 1/2. Okay? Now, one other thing I noticed last week on that quiz is that when you guys had several numbers, I think the numbers were 5, 3, and 6. These were your denominators, okay? And you had to find the common denominator. You always take the largest one. And you ask yourself, will 3 and 5 divide evenly into 6? 3 will, 5 won't. What is the next multiple of 6? 12. 3 will, 5 won't. What's the next multiple of 6? 18. 3 will, 5 won't. What's the next multiple of 6? 24. 3 will, 5 won't. What's the next multiple of 6? 30. 3 will, 5 will. So guess what? That is how you guys came up with that common denominator of 30. Okay? You guys might remember the problem. And I won't do the whole thing. I'm just reminding you, how do you find a common denominator in that type of problem? Okay? Now we are going to change to a reduced number. To a mixed number. I'm sorry, I looked at something else. Okay. 43.3, that's your example, is equal to 43. Don't forget that whole number. Some of you worked so hard and you were concentrating, you got this part right and you forgot to put your whole number. 43.3 equals 43 and 3/10. How do I know that's a tenth? Because there's one number right here. If there's 1 0, if there's 1 0, then there's going to be one number to the right of my decimal. 18.08 equals 18 and 8/100. Well, you can leave that 0 in front of there if you want to, or you can drop it. But there are 2 zeros to the right of my decimal. There are 2, I keep saying zeros and I'm sorry. There are 2 numbers to the right of my decimal and there are 2 zeros in that denominator. Now there's only one number in the numerator because that 0 was dropped. Okay? 17.7. Okay? That equals 17 and 17 what? 100ths. Why? There are 2 numbers to the right of that decimal. There's 2 numbers in that numerator. There will be 2 zeros in that denominator. 6,982. That's actually 6.982. Forgive me. Okay, so you've got your 6 is your whole number, 6. What is 982 going to be on top of? If you can't even see that, let's take a look. 1, 2, 3 numbers. You're going to have 3 zeros. So it's going to be over 1,000. Don't forget your whole number. Don't forget how you count those. Don't forget that this one is tricky when you have the 0 because it is dropped in your numerator. It stays in your decimal and the 2 zeros are represented by the 2 numbers to the right of the decimal, even though that 0 is dropped. If it helps you to keep it right there, keep it right there for now. Okay? Now I need you to know your 9 multiplication facts. Okay, count them up. 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54, 63, 72, 81, 90, 99, 108, right? Okay. Multiply fractions. Okay, 6/7 times 3, 6. What do we do first, class? We cancel. Make sure you're doing that, okay? You're going to cancel the 6's and replace with 1's. That becomes a 1. That becomes a 1. You can't change anything about the 3 and the 7. Your problem will read 1/7 times 3/1. You multiply straight across. That equals 3/7. You cannot reduce it. Example, 1 1/7 times 7/8. First, you solve the mixed number. 1 times 7 plus 1 is 8/7, right? You guys remember that? 1 1/7. 1 times 7 is 7 plus 1 is 8. Remember that? Okay, 8/7. Now you have 8/7 times 7/8. The 8's cancel to 1's and the 7's cancel to 1's. So the answer is 1/1. Let me take you back and show you. The 8 and the 8 cancels to 1. The 1 and the 1 the 7 and the 7 cancels to 1. So then you have 1/1 times 1/1 equals 1/1, right? Remember, 1/1 equals to just 1 because you always just write the top number if there's a 1 beneath it, okay? Example, 12 times 1/2. First, place a 1 beneath the 12. Now the problem looks like this. 12/1 times 1/2. Cancel the 2 and the 12. 2 goes into 12 6 times. 2 goes into itself 1 time. You can't do anything about those 1's, right? Okay, see that? That's what I had just said right there. So mark through the 12 and write 6. And mark through the 2 and write 1. Now, 6/1 times 1/1 equals 6/1 because you multiply it straight across. which reduces to just 6. Remember, anytime a number's over 1. Does that make sense? Did everybody follow me? If you don't, go up there and write it yourself. Change that 12 to a 6. Change that 2 to a 1 and say 6. You know, see what I'm saying? 6 times 1 is 6, and 1 times 1 is 1. You see what I mean? Okay. The following will be drawn, and you will label. Both the drawing and possible answers are listed for you. Know these. What does that mean? Several of you that I talked with this week on FaceTime, I said if it says no, there's no excuse for you missing it because you can memorize it. What did Miss Nance say you needed to know on page 1? This one. These should be some for sure points for you guys. Know this. Know this. Okay. Parallel lines, page 267. I'm pretty sure we highlighted this stuff as well. Point, page 267. Triangle, page 269. Quadrilateral, page 269. Line, page 267. Okay? If you guys have any questions, please get in touch with me, okay? I want you to do well. Remember, today's review is 2 pages long. If you're doing this on your own, mom and dad are working, get a sibling, a grandparent, or mom and dad when they get home, or just cover it and quiz yourself, okay? On this one and on this one. Go back and look these up. Now today, this time, I was a little bit more giving you the pages. I did help you here with some examples, but I need for you to start looking back, gathering knowledge. Looking back, gathering knowledge, because these are 5th grade skills. Your teacher may or may not, I'm not sure who you will have, they may not give you handy dandy sheets like this. And you will be forced to kind of study this stuff on your own a little bit more. But I'm going to be honest with you, this is tough math. And I feel like I needed to help you all that I could to make sure that you were ready and you were understanding everything. I hope you do amazing on your test tomorrow. There will be no video tomorrow. Have a fantastic Monday and Tuesday. I'll plan to talk to you Wednesday. Bye-bye.